What is going on, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to another episode of The Kingdom Says. I am your host, as always, Garrett Williams, and joining me today on this start of Legal Tampering Monday, we've got Kyle Henning, my usual co-host. Kyle, how are we doing today, sir?
We've been tampering apparently, plenty of
Legally.
tampering, plenty of legally
A lot of
tampering.
legal tampering going on today.
Don't illegal tamper, and then we have situations like Jerry
Macklin.
Macklin
Yes.
or the Dolphins.
They lost a whole pick
You
for
know,
it, yeah.
so did we.
We
They
did.
they lost it for trying to tamper with Tom Brady, and ours was for
Yeah.
Jerry Macklin. So
That'll happen
pretty
when
good
you're
on that
not
day.
legally
It's been a
tampering.
wild, wacky day already.
Yep. Yep.
There's been a lot of movement. Chiefs have been active. Well, that's why we're here. Ready to go over everything with you because
Yeah.
not only have they been active, but others have been active in already starting to pluck away guys like we talked about potentially could happen with the Super Bowl tax. So
Yeah. Decent amount of
it's a day,
activity.
folks.
Decent amount of activity so far today. I would say not the most crazy NFL free agency of recent. There haven't been a bunch of huge names to go off the board or be available this year, but there's some pretty big guys. Uh, Chiefs, notably today, really just made one move actually, and that came after a couple hours of contemplation and testing the market. The Chiefs ended up signing offensive tackle Jawaan Taylor to a 4-year, $80 million deal, $60 million guaranteed, um, to be the future tackle of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yep.
Um, yeah. Instant reactions, Kyle, to the signing. How do you like Jawaan Taylor?
He's a pass blocking tackle and
Yeah.
a very much a
Some might call him anti-Orlando Brown.
he's basically Eric Fisher
Tom, notably.
again. Like
Yeah.
he remind their him and Eric's play style remind me a lot of one another. They're more
Yeah.
athletic guys. They're gonna get in space easier. They're gonna quick feet, set well. Now, not everybody loved Eric Fisher. Eric Fisher was a wild ride in Kansas City, folks. Remember that. Now, I'm not telling you he's Eric Fisher level. I'm saying he's stylistically like Eric Fisher in that aspect. I think he's better than Eric was when Eric was here. I like the move. Partially because we're replacing two tackles again.
It's pretty much guaranteed at this point, yeah, that we are. Because a bunch of news coming out, but yeah,
It's
Jawaan Taylor,
so okay.
pretty big
So
signing.
for this purpose and for this purpose only, he can play both sides of your offensive line. He played right tackle last year. Now, do I love the idea of them moving a guy again to the side he's not familiar with again for in a system he's never played in before? No. However, if they have to go that route, I'm not opposed to it because his game is a little more equipped to switch sides and switch offenses, if some might say. So,
Yeah,
also the offense he played in last year is somewhat stylistically similar to the one he's going to play in this year because he's coming from Jacksonville. And somebody do me a favor, remind me, who was the head coach down there in Jacksonville?
Doug Peterson,
Oh, okay. Who's coaching tree?
Andy Reid.
Oh, weird. All right.
Yeah,
Good talk. Anyway, whose play was it that ended up burning the Eagles in the Super Bowl?
that would be a Reid special, I believe. Yeah.
Well, I believe it was Doug Peterson's via Eric Bieniemy, via
Oh,
Jacksonville doing it
that's a
to
lot of vias.
Philadelphia. Yeah. So because Doug talked about it after the Super Bowl that they used this little jet motion play on them twice. What was the name of it? They gave it. What was the special?
Philly.
And Andy. No,
Talking
Andy
about
named it.
what are we
No, I'm
talking
talking about
about here?
Andy. The Super Bowl play we just ran twice. Corn dog. Sorry. Good lord.
Corn dog.
Corn
That's what
dog.
you were talking about this entire time. That's crazy. Anyways,
How did you
continue.
not track that? Never mind. Forget this.
Continue.
With that and that layout, he's going to transition pretty well into this offense. I also think they may try to keep him on the right side, which will be interesting, and we'll get into here a little bit later.
That's going to
But
be a big question mark. So the biggest
he can
thing
play both
about
sides.
the biggest thing about the signing was kind of the conclusion that the Chiefs are going to be having two new tackles this year. Because by all reports, apparently this takes Orlando Brown essentially out. The Chiefs essentially said we're not signing Orlando Brown anymore. It's Jawaan Taylor's time and maybe somebody else we'll talk about in a second. But big signing, and obviously, he only has played right tackle in the league. He's been a right tackle in college for most of his career. He's been
Hmm.
a right tackle. The thing about it, that you're going into with Kansas City, we just seen it with Orlando Brown converting a right tackle to left tackle. It worked out decently well, especially with Orlando Brown's athletic profile. Converting Jawaan Taylor's athletic profile from right tackle to left tackle, I think might be a lot easier, a lot more fluid. Um, Obviously, you have one of the best O-line coaches in the game, Andy Heck, and just the entire system around him, plus playing with Joe Tooney on that side, if that may be the case. Um, I don't hate it, and obviously Tom, Arrowhead Tom, who is not here tonight, who could not join us, who was pretty ecstatic about this signing. He actually predicted this signing a couple of days
Like a
ago.
week or two ago in our group chat.
Yeah, a 25-year-old
And yes,
free
there are
agent tackle.
screenshots with proof. Yes, there are
Yeah,
screenshots
go over
with
to
proof
his Twitter.
for
You can
Tom.
see some screenshots about that. But uh,
Um, so here's the thing with the thing on this deal for me. The deal this year only cost us $5 million against the cap this year. The way
yeah,
the contract is structured, our friend Connor was kind enough to point out that it's structured similarly to how they did Tooney's deal,
yep,
which is pretty much an even base salary over the remaining years, with options to be able to obviously restructure that as they go forward. Um, the guaranteed money is a little different. It works kind of like Patrick's contract in a way. 40 million guaranteed up front, according to reports, with the other 20 million guaranteeing for year 3 on the 24th of next year, I believe, which is the league year date or whatever the vesting of the contracts, however that works, whatever date they picked for that to guarantee that date. That's when the next 20 million will guarantee. So his structure allows you some flexibility. Even it'll be interesting to see what they do with Tooney as he progresses towards the back half of his deal that's built like that.
yeah,
So that'll be an interesting thing. But with this structure, he can play both sides for you, and it gives you the option to play him at left tackle this year and draft a guy if they so choose to. Um, to do that with, because then you can move him, you can switch him back sides if you need to. If you got the kid that
yeah,
you drafted and you played him at right, now you want to move him left. I would prefer, if you're going to draft a left tackle and have him on the field, just put him at right tackle and put the rookie at left and let him figure it out, because
right. Just keep them where they need to
keep
be.
them where they're naturally at. I'd prefer it that way. Um,
Yeah,
if you're going to keep them where they're naturally at, that also opens up some other options. So,
yeah. Let's say
but
I
the
think
reason that I'm so adamant about them staying on the right, him staying on the right side potentially, is because Andrew Wylie is no longer with the team.
yes, he is not. He signed a deal with the Washington Commanders, a 3-year, $24 million deal, reuniting him with Eric Bieniemy in Washington there. Uh,
Congratulations, Andrew.
Big
You have
congratulations.
very
Honestly,
much earned a secure longer term deal with some
two-time
actual
Super Bowl
real
champion,
dollars in it.
two-time Super Bowl champ. He
Congratulations.
started in 2 Super Bowls. He was an undrafted free agent. He ended up winning the Mackley Hill Award for us and his quote-unquote rookie season. Uh, and he's just been a consistent guy. He's played multiple positions. He
And
has
he's
that position
grown,
versatility.
man.
And he definitely capitalized on the contract year this year. Like he
He's
played
the
his
dude
best
that's
ball at the end of the
always
year.
gotten better. He's gotten
Yeah,
better, but he's gotten better every year, and he's gotten better in multiple areas, and he's gotten better at everything that they've asked him to do. Because you mentioned it, he started out as a guard.
exactly.
He was. We talked for a while on this podcast about him playing tackle and how,
We
oh,
did
I'm not
not like
really
that.
comfortable with that.
But he grew, and all of a
And
sudden
yet,
he ended up becoming
by
a
the
solid
end of
tackle.
it, there were people saying he had a better year than Orlando. Now, some of those folks may be being a little
Yeah, some
hyperbolic.
weird metrics that go into that. I think. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know how
there's some
ESPN
stuff.
calculates those
So,
things, but
anyway, again, he ended up way outplaying anything anybody thought they were gonna get out of him, and
yeah,
that probably includes the Chiefs and Co. Because they paid him like $1 million for last year, I think
yeah.
total.
I'd say three
He
for
was on a
24.
one. He was on a 1 year deal last year, if I'm not mistaken,
I think he had a
for like a
couple one. I
vet
want to
min
say he was on 2 consecutive 1-year deals the past couple
on
years or
vet
something
min
like
one
that.
year
Yeah,
deals.
pretty much vet min. So 3 for 24. I mean, that's great for Wylie. Definitely a little rich for the Chiefs, especially given the other situations that they would have.
We
But hey,
appreciate your
we
service,
do have,
and
and
we
he was a
appreciate everything you did
great
for us.
locker room guy as well. I mean, one of the one of the big locker
I
room
just thought about
leaders.
this. What's that going to do for his KCP Pioneers interaction? Because you know he's a pack ripper, bro, and
That's
he rips
true.
them Pokemon card packs
That's
for
true.
as a content creator for KC Pioneers. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with esports, those that's a little easier to do because you don't necessarily have to be in the same city still to be a part of the team. You could still be a
Yep.
part of him even if he has to move. So that's kind of cool. Hopefully, there's several of the Chiefs guys, by the way, that are part of KC Pioneers. Him,
Yeah.
another guy that may be on the move this
I was saying,
offseason, and McCole.
but McColl was, yeah. Trey Smith, I
There's
think
Trey
was he?
Smith
Yeah.
is doing stuff. I don't know if he
I
was
thought
just
he
part of
was.
hanging out with
I
him.
don't
I don't know.
know.
There's a ton of guys that got involved with him. I know McCole is still plays with them and whatnot. I know Patrick and Garrett and them play with Slacked and whatnot still, who was part of Pioneers for a while too. So, um, but that's an aspect of it as well that's interesting. Is a lot of these guys are getting into more of that kind of stuff, and with Andrew, he really got to develop a brand last year. We got to kind of
Yeah.
see him on the franchise. We got to see him more at the podium in the locker room than we had years
I would say
prior. Because
definitely
he,
planted some solid roots in KC for sure. Like I think he'll probably
so
be a guy who sticks around for a little while after his career. But
good for
yeah,
him.
big
Go
shout
get
out
your
to him.
money. Go help Eric Bieniemy get a head coaching job by turning that offense and that team around up there, and pray that you
And
guys get a new
welcome
onyr before the freaking season starts.
Yeah, and
Jesus.
welcome Jawaan Taylor to potentially fill that spot. And so, we've talked about kind of this entire podcast how the versatility, right tackle, he could play left tackle. The initial reports out after the signing, a lot of the insiders and stuff like that were leaning towards the Chiefs putting him at left tackle. Now, there's not a ton of face value. You can't put that a lot of value with that, coming right out. Because you don't know what's going to
Because
happen the
it's
rest of
March 13th.
Exactly. You still got the draft. You still got a lot
and
more free
and
agency
we've
to
been out
go.
and we've been in freaking
You don't know.
tampering period for less than 12 hours.
Yeah. So
These
saying
contracts aren't even signed
he's
yet,
left
kids.
tackle right now is all fine and dandy, but there's gonna
It-
still be some major changes going on.
there's not even ink on paper yet. These
Legit.
are
Yeah.
tampering deals. These haven't even
Yeah.
they
The
can't even
Chiefs
sign them until like Thursday, I don't
won't
think.
even announce it until Wednesday or Thursday. So, but the biggest reason that I think we are kind of hammering the right tackle train more for him. Obviously he's played right tackle his entire career, and now while I would be more confident in him switching to left tackle, I would also kind of just like a left tackle to come play at left tackle for us. And there's a certain guy who was potentially on the trade block out of the Houston Texans that weirdly enough there have been a lot of rumors to him to Kansas City for the past couple days, but like from a very good source, yeah, about 10, 15 minutes before the Chiefs signed Jawaan Taylor, it was kind of reported that the Chiefs were in talks with the Houston Texans to potentially trade for Laramie Tunsil,
Which
who that's a lot to come with. That's a top five left tackle you're getting. You're also paying him top five left tackle money
oh
at
no.
29 years old.
He said reset the market money.
You're paying
That's
him
his
top money.
words.
Yeah.
That's his words.
I mean, I
So
don't know if you're eclipsing Trent Williams exactly, but
can
either way, you're
how
paying him top money.
can you do
Now,
that?
yeah. Now the highlight or the
You can
upside for the
you can
Chiefs
put the
here,
trade capital together. I don't
yeah,
have any problem with the trade capital
that's pretty
conversation.
easy actually, especially according to some rumors about what it might take. Maybe only like next year's second or this year's second, next year's first would be a fairly reasonable one. People have even said a little crazier. I
I'm
saw
not giving the Texans a first. It's the Texans.
it's Laramie
You can have
Tunsil.
you can have 2 seconds and a fourth
I
and
mean,
go
this is a
away.
franchise left tackle that we're talking
I still
about.
have
A
to pay
guy
him
who
$165 million.
that's
You can have
true,
two
but
seconds and a fourth,
the
and
thing
you can
about it
go away.
is, I think the Chiefs are fine paying that contract for a guy who's actually a top five left tackle instead of
They they
what
told you
you
that
would have been paying him.
they told you that 3 years ago.
Well, yeah, they also told
They
us this
tried
year
to
when they
sign Trent Williams for that deal that he went ahead and
exactly
just took with San Francisco. They have no problem writing that check.
they will
Here's the
write that
thing.
check.
I don't know that you can now with Tooney's check and Jawaan Taylor's check, who you just signed,
Yeah,
and
you can make you
another
can make some room.
third huge contract on it. Somebody's going to have to take some money elsewhere. You're going to have to lose some people.
Well, you can
So
restructure Pat, right? You can restructure Pat because they haven't done that.
they're going to need a lot of dough
They're
because
gonna need the dough. You can extend
the
Chris and save a little bit this year, right?
he wants to be the top paid player at his position too, or close to it. And
Yeah,
two
but
of
you can
those
save a
guys
little
just
bit
got
this
paid
year.
also.
You can still save some money this year. There's some. I mean, the Chiefs, I
Oh,
think, can find
there's
a way.
ways.
They can easily find a way to
Look,
get them under the cap
I'm all
there.
for Jawaan playing right tackle. How you go about getting that left tackle, I'm more up for conversation on than I think I've
Yeah,
been in the
and
past.
the great
I'll
thing
listen to
about
Tom tell me about left tackles in the draft for once, because usually I'm like,
yeah,
I don't want the
yeah.
franchise having a rookie over there. But
But in this situation, especially with having obviously like we said, Joe Tooney on that side, you have one of the best O line coaches
that's
in
the
the
but.
league.
That's the
You
but.
have
Is
you
is
have
you can
Andy Reid
shift the
who can
focus.
scheme for him. Like
Sure, but you can even shift. So now that we've talked about this offensive line and how their weak point has kind of shifted along this line to different points at different times.
yeah,
And one of the things that they've done is they've adapted to that. So when that happens, but so predominantly you protect your right tackle when somebody was out, whatnot. For a long time with Schwartz and with Fisher, you were protecting the left tackle because you had Mitchell Schwartz over there.
right.
So
Yeah, the
then
past couple
when
years has
those two
been
left,
Wylie.
it flipped, right?
Yeah,
It flipped
you've been
because even though Orlando wasn't a superstar for most
well,
of the
you're kind of
time,
helping him on that side as well, but
some, but not nearly as much as some of the
not as
scheme
much as you
stuff
were
they
having
were
to
doing for
do
Wylie
at
at
right
points.
tackle. Yeah,
There was stuff they were doing at right tackle that was like, whew. Now, they did stuff in a couple games for Orlando, I think mostly because it was matchup based, because it just made sense to do it that way, not necessarily that he needed it, although it didn't hurt him any. He wasn't
yeah.
mad about it, I'm sure.
Oh
But
yeah.
um so on that aspect, the other part of it is they've switched this line back and forth now multiple times, right? Well, now you've got the strength in the of this line is the middle three, okay? Because that's your three that have been there for a while. Your core is your center and your two guards, and one of them's a robot, and one of them I think we came up with a new nickname for on Twitter the other day, and we're gonna get that rolling. Me, Rocky, and CJ, a couple of boys from if you're not on there, we got a new Trey Smith nickname that we're workshopping and playing with, so may keep an eye on that. But those two with Creed, now you just paid a right tackle, or I don't care. I'd prefer him at right tackle because he's comfortable there and you can leave him on an island over there and not worry about it. Now you
Yeah.
can go draft the left tackle. You can play the rookie and you can shift Joe Tooney his way. Shift Creed to Joe's side. Shift Trey towards Joe. Or shift Trey towards Creed and let Jawaan deal with the Trey and because let that focus shift that way. It doesn't matter which side you pay it on. Patrick's going to
Yeah.
move. And the main thing we've noticed with Patrick is, at least over this year and the last year and a half, his main thing is if you give him the structure of the pocket in front of him, guys going behind him or flying around back here don't matter. If he has
Doesn't
room
matter.
up
Yeah.
front, he can step up. It opens lanes. He has rush lanes. It's a different ball game. So I would prefer however they go about the tackle approach from this point forward. The other tackle, I
Yeah.
would prefer it be the left side.
Yeah, and
However they do it.
the thing about the Jawaan Taylor sign that's great for the Chiefs is the amount of versatility it allows them to have going into the rest of the offseason, right? Because now you can go to a team like the Texans and say like, hey, we don't necessarily need a left tackle right now. You know, we have a guy who can play left tackle for us,
Mm-hmm.
but we would like your left tackle still potentially, but we don't need him anymore. Or in the draft, you can now say like, hey, you have more versatility. You can draft a right tackle, draft a left tackle, draft whatever best tackle is available to you that you are confident in, or other free agents that are potentially out there. There's not a great amount of names left, but it just opens up the door for a lot more options for the Chiefs going forward. And obviously, we're far away from seeing the final outcome of what this line is going to look
Oh,
like
definitely.
come come training camp. So
In relation to the conversations with contracts in regards to like Chris Jones extension and whatnot, I wanted to mention this. Joe Tooney's contract did not get sniffed, smelled, or breathed near as far as the guard market is concerned, and most of the better guards have already been signed, whether
yeah,
they were re-signs or signature deals. The biggest guard deal this year, I think, was Ben Powers with the Broncos, with like
Chris
4 for
Lindstrom.
52.
Chris Lindstrom said
What?
he was a new record-setting deal.
What did he? Where is it? And why is it not on
I
my
think it was 5 for 105. He eclipsed Tooney. Yeah.
as what? As a guard?
Yeah. Falcons guard. Yeah. I think he plays center too sometimes.
Okay, well, 33rd team is currently not doing me any favors because that contract and that player's name is not
Oh, he's
listed on
not
this
even on
sheet
there. That's
right now.
crazy.
So there's
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Chris
Um,
Lindstrom.
at least
Five for
that
105, I think.
great. Well, good. Somebody finally made us not the highest paid guard in the league anymore.
Yep.
But the rest of those guys, like, there's not a lot there.
About to say that there's a huge drop down because yeah, the next guy was like Ben Powers at
4 for 52,
three.
and then Nate Davis
Yeah.
was like 3 for 30. So, and
Exactly.
those were both
So
Bears and Broncos respectively. So, like, yeah,
definitely
there's
some room to navigate with Tooney,
now
but
the Chris Jones conversation that you mentioned in regards to freeing up some cap space this year. Well, Javon Hargrave just signed a 4-year, $84 million deal, and
yeah,
Deron Payne just signed with the Niners, by the way, because the
yeah.
Niners needed to
Which
spend more
that's
money on the defensive line, which is
crazy D line right now
bonkers.
that they got.
Uh, Deron Payne re-signed with the
Commanders.
Washington Commanders on a 4-year, $90 million deal.
Yeah, that was the
Both
bigger
of
one.
those dudes getting into that 22, 23 million a year range.
Yeah, but that
Um,
didn't entirely change things for the Chiefs and Chris Jones. Now, obviously, the
uh,
longer they wait, the more expensive it's going to be, especially with all these other defensive tackles signing.
well, I
But
don't know
I
that
think
that's going to
everyone
change
kind of
because I think those
expected.
two are pretty much the top two besides him going to get paid this offseason. I think the
Yeah, well, there's a
market's done
couple. There's a
moving.
couple other people who need extensions. I know Jeffrey Simmons in Tennessee needs
Fletcher,
extension.
Jeffrey,
I saw
Fletcher's old though.
one or two
Don't.
other names that Adam Schefter had
Calais
tweeted about.
Campbell's on
I,
there. Shelby
he's a free
Harris just
agent.
got a free agent. Is a
Shel,
free agent.
Draymond Jones just got a bag from Seattle, 3 for 51.
It's not bad, but that's not anywhere near what Chris is going to do.
Yeah,
Three
I'm
for
trying to figure out
51
the
is
other tackles
17
though.
and a half.
Oh,
17 and a half.
Quinnen Williams and Dexter Lawrence also have
Okay,
potential
that's
extensions
great.
coming up.
Neither one of those two dudes are anywhere near Jeffrey Simmons or Chris Jones.
Yeah, Quinnen
Sorry.
Williams, maybe you can make an argument for the
Not yet.
youth, but
He
still,
might be, but it's ways out.
still, the longer you
Especially
wait
because
with these new contracts,
Jeffrey,
one upping
well,
each other,
Jeff and
it's gonna.
well, Chris is on. This will be his second deal. This will be
Yeah,
his second
that
big
is the
deal,
big thing.
and
That
Jeff
is
will be getting his first
his
big deal.
first. Yeah, Quinnen
And Quinnen is
also
still working on like whether or not he's going to get his
a deal.
5th-year option used
Yeah,
and then a franchise tag. So he's got some time still. He can hang out. The Jets aren't anywhere concerned about paying him right now anyway.
they
They've
got some
got
other
Aaron
problems on
Rodgers
their
fish to
hands.
fry. So,
But yeah, the Chris
the
Jones
deals
market should be
are
bigger than all of that.
the question boils down with Chris too. Chris, how close to Aaron Donald's contract do we need to get you, big boy?
Yeah.
Are we good with
It's-
just being paid more than the rest of these dudes? And we understand that he's about to retire and that contract's a unicorn and it doesn't really exist?
and the Rams completely overpaid for him.
And they're idiots. Clearly look around the
They gave
room. Do
him
you see
so
that they
much
are
money.
fire selling their entire roster and
Yeah, you
room?
think the
Jalen
Rams are
Ramsey
good
just
at
went to the
handing out
Dolphins.
contracts?
Jalen Ramsey just went to the Dolphins for a second and a bag of packing peanuts. And that's no offense to
Third.
Hunter Long.
The third, which is even stupider.
Sorry, third and Hunter Long, which
Yeah.
if you
So
knew who
basically a
Hunter
third
Long
and
was
nothing.
before this episode, good
I
luck
think he went
to
to
you. I
Boston
appreciate
College,
you.
I think, or something. I
He
forget.
did.
That was like 2 years ago draft talk from us. Anyways,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the defensive tackle market could get a little crazy, but Chris Jones, hopefully, the sooner you sign him sooner rather than later, and just get it out the way and figure out how you can allocate more funds around that. But
So, like I said, I know you want Tunsil. I get it.
I do,
I get
I
it.
do want
I
Tunsil.
understand. I just worry about 3 contracts that size on one position group because you've got Tooney, Reed, and Tooney, Jawaan, and then would be
Yeah, that is
Tunsil,
true.
and
I
then you're
mean,
going to be looking at paying Trey and Creed because
they
Trey's
need
a 6th
contracts
rounder.
too. I mean, realistically, at this point, Tunsil's probably out of the picture. You never know, though. You never know. But
I've
more,
seen him do wilder things and play with.
yeah, we've seen wilder stuff before, but I think this maybe the smarter solution would be to draft the next tackle of the future. And if Arrowhead Tom was here, he would have a mountain of draft prospects,
Oh, well,
specifically at tackle for us. That
I'm glad you said that because we're going to have some content later this week from
yeah,
Arrowhead Tom in
yeah,
regards to this
he's
exact
gonna
conversation
break down some tackles for us.
because My scenario that I think is actually going to happen is they are going to draft the tackle, and I've been telling you guys for a year and a half now since we found out the draft was in Kansas City. They're trading up in this
That would
draft.
be a huge
They are
pop.
not trading out.
I mean,
They
think
are
of the
not.
pop. Oh,
They
no
are
chance they're trading
trading
out. The Chiefs are
up
making a pick, if
in this
not
draft.
more than one pick. But yeah,
They're trading up in this draft in the first round. And I think it's for left tackle at this point.
that would be huge.
I've been telling you they were trading up for a while. I just didn't know what they were going to go get. And I think they've pretty much showed you it's either Laramie
It
Tunsil or we're
might
going to get a left tackle
it might be a left tackle. I mean, the thing
or
I
a
think if
tackle.
Tom was
Any tackle.
here, I think if Tom was here, he would argue that you could find some value for tackle later in the rounds in second and third day. I
Are you
think.
trying to find value or protect the franchise?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Just when you
Go
sign
get me the
Jawaan
star.
Taylor, you might find a star in a different position waiting for you. If you
That's
trade
okay.
up,
Go
you
get
might
me
get
the
an
star.
edge.
That way, when Jawaan Taylor's
You
expensive in
got
2 years
potential.
and I can
Only other
walk.
position I would maybe listen to is edge. Maybe if there's a really good edge rusher who has fallen a little bit,
Okay.
trading up him, and
I
getting a
also think
tackle
you
in.
can get away with some of that depth in the edge market because the edge class I actually
That,
like a little better than the tackle class
that's
from a
fair,
depth
but
perspective.
there's some ability had, and we say the so
Yeah. So Tom will break down some more of that information later in the week as we go because he's going to have some more target information as far as like players that you could see in those ranges, where we might be able to get some draft compensation and value for that information on that kind of stuff, and so on and so forth. So at that point, oh goodness, things are going weird. Sorry about that. At that point, he can give you guys a better breakdown and a better look around the room. We did want to discuss today the rest of the things that have kind of gone on around the league, and at least Chiefs adjacent. Austin Eckler has requested a trade because Austin is not going to be able to reach an agreement for the extension that he was working on with the Chargers. So he has requested a trade. And then on that end, the Bengals lost both safeties today. The first one being Jesse Bates is going to the Atlanta Falcons on a new 4-year, $64 million contract. And then Von Bell is signing a 3-year, $22 million deal with 13.5 guaranteed for the Carolina Panthers. So I bring those two conversations up for this purpose. Juan Thornhill is your free agent safety right now, and he is a year younger and in the same realm as Von Bell was. Jesse Bates was considered pretty comfortably the best safety available on the market. You've got a couple other guys out there, but Juan is available in that same realm as Jordan Poyer is out there. Chauncey Gardner Johnson is available. Jimmy Ward's apparently signing with the Texans. Don't have any idea on how much yet Jimmy Ward is signing with the Texans, but he is apparently signing with the Texans. So on that front, that's kind of the market that you're seeing for the safeties breakdown. It's not the insanity that once was, where you're getting 4 first-round picks and $30 million of extra nonsense for Jamal Adams. The safety market has calmed down some in that respect. I could see them bringing Juan back. I could also see them very much attempting to address safety in the second, third, and fourth rounds of this draft with all the picks they've got.
they've
So,
had some
because
hits.
like
They
I
have had
said,
some hits in the second day.
the the money for Von Bell's deal is, I think, kind of in the range where you're going to see Juan get paid. Juan's might be a little more because of those rings that we talked about. There's a ring tax, man. He got 2 of them.
2 of them.
Now, is the ring tax for him worth going to get a couple extra million? Probably, because it's his first deal.
They
I
get
would.
paid. Definitely get paid.
I would. I would absolutely go take that extra $2.5 million a year, especially if it's in some place that is tax free. Yes, sir. Bye.
Yeah. Yep.
Catch me in Miami or Houston or wherever that's bad that doesn't make you pay income tax, state income taxes. Yeah, bye.
Dallas.
I said bad, not mediocre with expectations.
Yeah.
So from that front, I think you could see Juan's situation go either way, which is one I was pretty sure that they were going to end up bringing back when this started, and I'm more on the fence than I think I've probably ever been. So,
It's tough. So,
just
some of
from the
these,
way we've seen the market go, I could see him easily coming back for that, $8 million or $9 million roughly a year that Von Bell got, because that's basically what Von got, basically 7.2 a year, give or take.
right. I don't know.
And
It's gonna
two of
be.
it's guaranteed.
I
So
think
two
it's
years of it's
interesting the
guaranteed.
Chiefs' strategy that they might have to kind of employ here because obviously we saw just the one big swing at free agent signing. It's some of those intermediate guys that are looking to get their first contract. Juan, Cole, even like Colin Saunders. Like
Colin.
there just might not be the little funds to allocate when you can, especially
Uh,
when you look at the draft and what Brett Veach has done. And I
I
mean,
think
hitting his hit rate makes
I
it
think
almost like you might want to kind of lean more towards trying to develop some rookies instead of paying a couple more dollars for a vet. I don't know. It's the
I
Chiefs
think
might have to
Frank
play
told
some
you
cap games like that.
I think Frank told you that Colin will be here next year.
I mean, yeah, calling out of the three would be the most likely, I think,
Just
because you
based
can
on
get him for
his
cheap enough.
like Frank's tweet basically said, "Look, I'm leaving two brothers in that locker room and I know they're both going to be there next year." Is basically what that tweet said. Like,
Yeah.
you can take into that. That's how I read into that.
I
If
mean, I
I'm
don't
wrong,
know.
that's great.
I
But
mean,
that's
Frank ain't making the signing the
Frank's
contracts
not
for him.
making the decisions. But I'm
Yeah.
also fairly certain that when Frank tells you in that post that he basically told those dudes that was the last time they'd be talking to each other in that locker room, and he knew it was the over for him. He already knew the direction they were headed. So I
Well, yeah,
would
I'm sure.
assume,
I'm sure, especially in like the exit interview and
and well,
conversation when
even
he was
before
getting
it,
cut, like, hey,
before it, he talked about it before he said before the Super Bowl. He told him it was me the last time they were in the room. He knew already because they talked about
well,
it
yeah,
the
he knew
year
that
prior.
he would be probably gone. Yeah.
Right. So when you understand that, and you know that you're already basically gone the following year, there may be a little more information available to you than
Yeah, maybe.
previous about what the plans are to make you a little more. Well, when you negotiate these deals with these guys, you got to give them something. They got to know something. They got to be willing. They got to get something out of it. If they're gonna, he took a fucking huge pay cut. Let's be real.
Yeah.
He ain't gonna do it for nothing. Now he got a ring out of it, but
He got another ring out of it.
he ain't do it for nothing. And
Yeah.
it had to be, hey, we're gonna do this, and maybe this guy
Yeah.
next
Out of the
year, this
three,
guy next year. So, but I
out of the
Colin is the
three, I
guy I
think
think is still here.
Colin, yeah, is definitely gonna be the cheapest. But the other two, Cole and Juan, I think have definitely at least played
I,
up to a getting a
I have
bag
no
from
idea what to
somewhere.
do with this wide receiver market. Nobody
Well,
does. I don't think
nobody
anything
does. The
happened yet.
NFL doesn't, because
Nobody
yeah,
moved.
no wide receivers were signed really. I mean, I think
AJ, well, that's not true. AJ Green retired.
Yeah, Sterling Shepard, I think re-signed with the Giants for a
Oh,
1 year
oh,
like
oh.
vetman deal.
Marcus Kemp, get you a deal, boy.
Marcus Kemp
Enjoy
signed
that.
earlier. Yeah,
Enjoy that
so I
one
think
year,
that's
1 million with
literally one of the
Washington, bro.
only wide receiver signings that have been
Enjoy that, and
happened so
and
far. I
then
think.
of course the
Well, I
Sterling
think the
Shepard
problem.
deal
I
and
think the
the
thing
and
with
the
the
Woods
wide
deal.
receiver market, it's all hinging on one guy. Everyone's waiting for OBJ and seeing where he goes before they make the next move. Because
I don't
every team is in
understand.
on OBJ. It's just one of
Okay,
those.
but
It's like
at what
it's the
number
same
and
way.
how many years and
Well,
where and
that's
how
what
long?
everyone's trying to find out. It's the same thing that we saw with like Tom Brady a couple years ago, where it's like that's the first
Except Tom
domino
Brady
that
wasn't
has.
coming off an ACL tear
Well, yeah, but I'm
in
just
the
saying is
freaking.
OBJ is the first domino in the wide receiver market that's going to fall. Everyone's waiting to potentially be in on the OBJ sweepstakes, and if they're not, then they look to Plan B. I think that's kind of what we've been seeing here.
I
Now,
sure, I guess to an
I'm not saying
extent.
it's the right way. I'm not saying it's like it's the smart way, because you're right. OBJ, I mean, you're
I don't know what else they're out there to go after really hard though. When you look at this wide
there's
receiver market,
not
you're
a
like,
huge wide receiver market, especially
Oh,
when you have the
here, you ready for
upside of
this?
OBJ there. Like,
Jacoby Myers, Juju Smith-Schuster, Adam Thielen, Alan Lazard, Odell, Paris Campbell, McCole Hardman, DJ Shark, Marvin Jones, Darius Slayton, DeAndre Carter, Jarvis Landry, and I'm done reading you names that matter.
yeah, so that's like kind of the relevant market, and OBJ,
Hey, Will Fuller's on there. His half a hamstring exists.
yeah,
So is Sammy
I wouldn't bank on him.
Watkins.
Hey, bring back
Nelson
Sammy. How about that?
Aguilar exists.
We
Nikhil
could talk about the wide
Harry.
receiver market because there are some
I'd rather
names
not.
that besides Juju that I would like to bring back, but
Who?
OBJ
Where?
is
I just looked through the whole market and there's really not much there.
I wouldn't mind Adam Thielen. I wouldn't mind Thielen
Adam
or
Thielen is.
OBJ.
That's fine.
That's the thing. I would be
Adam
cool with
Adam would
OBJ
have to
or
be like
Thielen.
your Juju replacement though, because he's a slot guy.
Well, yeah.
He ain't going out and winning on the sidelines and running deep balls and go routes and stuff.
No, but I think he
Not
can find a
anymore.
role for him for
Adam,
sure.
Adam, that gear not there anymore, Adam. I love you, buddy, but that top gear is not there no more.
A big shout out to Adam Thielen. He's the man, and I would
I
love to see him in a Chiefs uniform
that's a
in
big that's
whatever
a
kind of
big
role.
dude with a giant catch radius that
And
Mahomes
then
could
maybe
have a
you
whole lot of fun throwing
exactly,
to.
and then maybe you draft a young guy or something like that. I'm just saying there's a lot of options out there. I would still, honestly, out of the three, though, I'd probably like to see Juju back,
How you
but
feel about Austin Eckler out of
that's gonna
needing out of the
that's
old
tough because
Los Angeles San
well,
Diego
that's the thing.
Superchargers?
The thing about it is that he's in the last year of his deal. As a running back, you don't want to go. You don't want to be playing on a 1 year deal, essentially, especially at his level. You're basically
Not with that team's injury history. Jesus.
yeah, that's one of those things. You need another contract for him, and the problem is that the NFL really doesn't value running backs these days. Like
And they can't pay him because they're
they,
still
the
paying
Chargers
Keenan.
sure
They just
can't
cut
pay him.
Khalil Mack.
Yeah, the Chargers definitely can't pay him, but it's gonna be hard pressed to find
They're
another team that's
they're gonna
really
have
gonna
to.
be wanting to shell out a contract for Eckler, especially this is his third contract that he's been getting now. Like this is his third. You don't really see many running backs get to a third contract in this. And now
Shout
he
out to
led the
him
league
though.
and he led the league in touchdowns last year, like 19 something touchdowns he had. Like he had a great year still,
Shout out to
but
him, man. Not supposed to
shout
be
out to
able to do
him.
that.
And
Now
he should be
he's
getting
been
a bag, but will he get a bag? Especially, I don't think it's going to be from the Chargers. I definitely don't
I
think
don't think
they're
it
going to pay
can
him.
be.
Yeah, but then you look into trade comp for him, and
You still got to pay Justin Herbert, and you can't even figure out how to keep the talent around him because you have too much money on the books and Khalil Mack and Keenan Allen and Mike Williams and all these other weird contracts you've got all over the place,
J.C. Jackson.
including that J.C. Jackson abomination they did last year.
Yeah, that was a great
And what's
contract for him.
Derwin's number at?
Derwin's making a lot of money, I think. So
Boy, better stay
the
healthy.
Chargers aren't paying Austin Eckler, so that's going to be a questionable where he goes. I mean, hey, I'd like to see him at the division and go see him prosper on another team, but it's just I don't know. That might be a long one. That might be a long situation there that doesn't
That's
have a
tough.
resolution until after, especially at the draft. Like, I mean, the Chiefs just found a seventh round pick to be a star running back. Like, obviously that doesn't happen all the time, but especially as of recent, the past couple years, I feel like the NFL has found some good running backs in the later rounds that
It's running backs are in all the rounds because running backs there's just athletes
there's a lot of
everywhere
them.
at the position.
Yeah, and they just aren't properly valued in today's NFL.
And
So
a
it's
lot of them
tough.
aren't properly taught at the college and the high school levels what the hell they're supposed to be doing in a lot of the aspects of the
Yeah.
game. So a lot of them are just big ass balls of clay by the time they get up here.
So curious to see where Eckler goes for sure, but yeah, I mean, other move that was made in the division, the Las Vegas Raiders have their new quarterback,
Yes.
Jimmy Garoppolo, signing there, making a
Hey,
huge
man, what is it?
splash upgrade at quarterback. Obviously, going from average quarterback in Derek Carr to average quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm sure that's a huge upgrade in that
If
department.
he puts the eye black / mascara on, does anybody notice the difference?
I don't think so, honestly. Do you really
That's
notice
not,
the difference?
I'm not even. It's not even a slight at either guy. I just
No, I
don't
mean
know
they're
what
both
the
just
difference is.
averagely good, but you're not making an
15th
upgrade.
best quarterback, 16th best quarterback.
Exactly, that's exactly
Yay!
how it is.
Like
there's
why do I care?
the only
It
the
matters
only
for the
saving-
Saints. It matters
Oh
for
yeah,
the
it
Saints.
matters.
It matters
Yeah.
for the Saints because he's the best freaking quarterback in the division at the moment. Which
Yeah, the Saints upgraded, but the Raiders
the Raiders
they did not
lateral
upgrade.
move.
Now I think it's still kind of expected they're going to draft a quarterback probably, but yeah.
And if you're
definitely-
Jimmy,
if you're Jimmy, hey, get that bag and
well, no, but if you're
stay
Jimmy,
healthy.
really another guy, I'm gonna get
About to
to,
say,
I
that'd
get
be
to do the
Another time.
Jimmy
yeah,
living the Alex Smith life of
he is.
awful coordinators, insanity, and
that's
having to be everybody's mentor.
That's what the life of a quarterback is when you're you're starter caliber, but you're nothing more than that.
When you
so
are
it's like
literally that.
You have to be the starter, but also
Which
everyone's always looking to upgrade from you. So
hey, we'll find out.
it's
Was it Jimmy or was it the Shanahan offense?
yeah, and Jimmy is getting reunited with Josh McDaniels. I think this move, honestly, more
This
so to
might
save
actually be
Josh
interesting.
McDaniels than anything. It's like, hey, Josh, this is your chance to get a quarterback that you actually knows your system. You better not mess it up.
We're gonna bring in the vet guy that knows your stuff and that you taught like your puppet for like 4
Yeah.
years when he was with you in New England. Because realize, guys, the backup quarterback and the offensive coordinator literally don't like leave each other's side. They just stand there and talk to each other like 25.
They know each other pretty well. So if Can't get it done with him.
This is the Raiders going, you get this, and we're going to draft one quarterback.
You one other shot.
You get him to teach and lead into him, and then that's it. This better work like that did in the division, or you're in trouble. Because this is the pressure that Patrick Mahomes puts on you as a franchise, on franchises in their division, and this is the Raiders saying, we're gonna try it their way. You better get it right.
Yeah, it's I don't know, TBD. I guess we'll see how the rest of the offseason pans out for him, but definitely questionable. At least they didn't really break the bank for him, but still.
Hey man, it's a very different tune this year, right?
It is. It is. It's
Because
last year was like load up, everybody sign all the top free agents and try to beat the Chiefs. This year it's like, all right, maybe we'll take a more mellow approach.
We were all sitting around last year going, boy, there are a lot of bombs going off around us.
Chiefs, Brett Veach, are you still alive? Are you around still?
Everybody's shooting missiles and buying guns and blowing up rockets, and what is happening? Why are we just sitting
here? It's a frenzy out here, and nothing's happening on our end. And now it's definitely a lot more mellow.
Well, let's put it like this. I know that the Bengals, the Bills, definitely both got worse today.
Definitely.
As it stands. Now, it's March 13th.
Yeah, I mean,
can change a lot. But as of this moment, they both definitely got worse. Because, as we've just mentioned, the Bengals lost both safeties. I talked to you guys about that earlier when Garrett was dealing with internet. And then the Bills lost linebackers, one to the Giants, one to the Bears.
Too. I mean, I think Micah Hyde.
Poyer's a free agent. Yeah. But they lost Tremaine Edmonds to the Bears, right? Is it the Bears?
Yeah, he signed with the Bears, who, I mean, the Bears have absolutely won March 13th.
Oh,
they're going to be
Bears are killing it right now.
Yeah, Ryan
Poles all over
the place.
Ryan Poles
in the world at the moment. Now, obviously, you don't win many games. You don't win many games in March, so all this stuff, like we said, like we talked about.
He also got
TJ
Edwards.
Yeah, but like we talked about last year, the Chargers, Raiders, and Broncos were all the winners of March, and guess who won the Super Bowl still?
And that's what I'm saying. And the Chargers got worse. If Eckler's on the having to request a trade or they're having to move Eckler or whatever, no matter what, even if he doesn't get moved this year, all that stuff happening makes that harder to deal with in that locker room. That's just a little more of an annoyance, a distraction, a thing.
I mean,
whatever you have to deal with.
He's a
huge locker room guy, so that's also hard for
one of their biggest
those
right
dudes
there.
to look around and go, you can't pay him?
How are you going to pay me? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So there's that aspect. I'm just curious to see if the tone continues to stay this way, because I don't know that the Chiefs have gotten any worse, and I think they may have gotten better today already. So we'll see.
Yeah,
but
I think so. The last, I guess, bit of news we can talk about, the Broncos, the other AFC West team. They made a couple signings today. They signed Mike McGlinchey.
To play right tackle.
Big old tackle contract they gave him to play tackle for him.
So we should probably do this. His tackle deal is 5 years, 87.5, and it's only got 50 million guaranteed. Jawaan's was 4 for 80 with 60, but with that extra 20 coming due guaranteed next year. So they're pretty close. The AAV is like within like 2.5 million of each other. I think Mike's is like 17.5 and Jawaan's is like 20. But it's just based on the structure and the length. So pretty close to the same deal. Not too surprised on that tackle contract. The fact that they went and paid a guard and some other stuff today.
Yeah, they paid a guard. I think they paid a tight end, some random tight end.
So let's see here.
They didn't really do
the Broncos,
much, but they at least were active. Sean Payton starting to
they
make
went
his
Zach Allen.
Oh yeah,
Zach Allen.
Zach Allen. Yeah.
To the edge on the edge deal out there. That's basically the only edge deal of any.
Not many of that either so far, yeah.
Any substance there, but so there's that. What did I say earlier? They paid Ben Powers.
Yeah, Ben Powers,
they paid Ben Powers 4 years, 52 million, which hope it works.
Exactly.
So there's that, and then they also signed Chris Manhertz, which is the tight end.
And they also signed, I think, Jarrett Stidham, right? think they signed future franchise quarterback Jarrett Stidham to back up. I want to say that was
Where's old
the Broncos.
Jarrett?
Stidham. Let's
I'm
just
still
search that.
scrolling. He's probably up here.
Yeah, he did
Yep.
2 for 10.
2 years, $10 million. Nice
So
$5 million
potential.
backup quarterback for
Yeah,
Russell.
exactly. Slash backup plan for the Broncos in case Russell keeps on
Being
declining.
terrible?
So I wouldn't say the Broncos necessarily improved this year, but or today, but they're doing stuff. They're at least dancing. I'm still not worried about them in the slightest. So
Oh, Sam Darnold replacing Jimmy Garoppolo in San Francisco. Missed that
yeah, they did
earlier.
sign Sam Darnold. Yeah, so
Um,
that's going to be
good
interesting.
on good on Geno Smith, by the way. I don't think we really got to talk too much about it. Happy for that dude.
Big contract for him. Yeah, it's huge. That's a
Happy for
really
that dude. Get paid, bro.
he really stuck through it, and it's kind of like Andrew Wylie. He just
That
stick
dude's
through
career history
some
length,
mud.
but
Oh
for a
yeah.
quarterback, that
Oh,
doesn't that
wild,
never
wild.
happens.
I mean, bro got punched in the jaw. Like, come on.
That never he like you don't end up end up with the Jets as your first team, deal with a bunch of nonsense, have everybody pretend you're not a starter because you can't basically stay healthy because they got you killed, then go to like 5 other teams in 5 years,
Yeah,
be backups, be the guy who has to be like I just said, like the Alex Smith or like the Jimmy Garoppolo
yeah.
who
Never
who
actually
is
getting
the
your
guy
shot.
for the guy who's the guy
Yep.
for the guy. He finally got his deal.
Finally
Three
got
for
a deal. So shout out him.
105. 3 for 105. Quarterback. That's gravy
It's
money.
not bad.
Hell, they're paying Daniel Jones 4 for 160. I like the Geno
Yeah. So
contract
free
better.
agency will continue. Obviously, this is just the tip of the iceberg here. We still got a lot of free agency to go. So we'll be talking to you guys periodically as more big signings, potential trades, and all that stuff pop off. But yeah, overall first day of legal tampering,
Okay,
not
give me
bad.
your percentage chance that Laramie Tunsil is a Chief by the time we do another one of these.
I'm gonna it's
Not
the
not
heart.
not not before the draft. By the time
Yeah.
we do another
By the time
episode,
we do another episode, I mean,
which could be
if
as
it's
early
gonna
as
happen, if
Wednesday or
it's gonna
Thursday this
happen,
week.
I feel like it's gonna be soon. I'm gonna say 20%. There's a
Okay.
20% chance. So my heart wants to tell me like 75, 80, but I think realistically you're probably looking at 20%. Yeah. So a lot more to
I'm gonna
come.
be the Debbie Downer for the Chiefs fans. I'm gonna go ahead and be honest with you. I think it's about a 2% chance that that happens.
Oh, you're telling me there's a chance.
I'm telling you, that's all there is.
So you're telling me there's a chance. Anyways,
That
we will be
yes.
back with you later this week, hopefully with our guy Tom to break down some prospects and get some more off-season news going as free agency and everything kicks up. But
And
Chiefs
look at our
Kingdom,
tackle options.
we've got a lot. We've got some tackle options to go through. So Chiefs Kingdom, thank you all for tuning in, watching, and listening. If you're watching this, you can listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all that good stuff. And if you're listening, you can watch us over on YouTube at The Kingdom Says Pod. Thank you all for so much. Follow us at Kingdom Says Pod on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and we will talk to you guys in the next one.